Hey soldiers, did Vladimir Putin and Yevgeny Prigozhin, who is the CEO of the Wagner Group, did they just pull off a $6.2 billion con on the United States of America thanks to the bumbling Biden administration?
The United States now has more money to spend on Ukraine. That's because of an accounting error that's even larger than previously reported. The Pentagon initially estimated that it sent more than $6 billion to Ukraine, but as it turns out, the real amount is actually half that.
In a significant number of cases, services used replacement costs rather than net book value, thereby overestimating the value of the equipment drawn down from U.S. stocks and provided to Ukraine.
House Republicans have announced they will no longer, though, just write a blank check to finance the war in Ukraine. So this found money at the Pentagon will keep the cash flowing without the need for approval from Congress.
All right, that report was from the 21st of June. Mid-June, the Pentagon came out and announced that they had miraculously found that $6.2 billion. You saw the spokeswoman just throw a lot of words at the screen, try to confuse Americans. The essential, outcome of it is they found $6.2 billion. Now, prior to that, Yevgeny Prigozhin was in the Western media, and they were profiling the fact that he had a lot of misgivings about how the war was being prosecuted. Okay, he indicted the defense apparatus of Russia on several occasions publicly, and Western media was all too eager to just swallow that whole. Then he actually came out and said that the war was, now mind you, he's over there fighting the war for the Wagner Group. He's actually making more strides than the regular Russian military with this private Wagner Group that he owns and runs. Yet and still, he comes out recently and says this war is illegal. Again, he continues to harp on the mismanagement from the Defense Department of Russia, says that they actually fired on him. But he never calls out Vladimir Putin. Not to my knowledge. Nothing I read had Prigozhin calling out Putin. Guys, I can't prove this. Okay. But I think that turn of, that about face in terms of his allegiance was orchestrated by the Kremlin. I think that they just outsmarted the hell out of the bumbling Biden administration and took $6.2 billion away from the American taxpayer. And look, the proof is in the pudding. Prigozhin, now this is a man, mind you, who just announced a coup against Russia. He said he was marching on Moscow. He allegedly, Russia's saying that he blew helicopters out of the sky, Russian helicopters. But he's going to be allowed to move to Belarus, and he's going to face no charges. Now remember, in Russia, if you got a vape pen with some marijuana residue in it, you could be facing 12 years. This guy tried to pull off a coup against Vladimir Putin's administration, and he's facing no time, but is actually going to get to go and retire in Belarus. And Viktor Lukashenko, the president of Belarus, he's a close friend of Vladimir Putin. This guy, Prigozhin, has been a close friend of Vladimir Putin. So I think this was orchestrated, guys. And the United States, the next video we do is going to be about how large swaths of the country on both sides of the political spectrum have lost faith in the political leadership, also in the military leadership as well, because they're pursuing a woke agenda. Okay. I don't even know if, first of all, transgenders are a small percentage of the population to begin with. All right. The portion of that population that wants to join the military is, of course, going to be even smaller. then the portion that can is going to be even smaller than that. So I don't know what the hell's going on here, but it looks like we just got played. The entirely bizarre, slightly less than 24-hour short-lived coup attempt has just gotten even stranger. Given the terms of the truce, which evidently caused Evgeny Prigozhin, let's just call him Prigozhin. I've seen his first name spelled many different ways. Anyway, caused him to announce his Wagner fighter columns would turn around and go back to their bases. That's not how that's not how it works. If you call for a coup and then you marshal military personnel and equipment, tell the world you are marching on the capital of any country, you don't get to walk away from that. The Wall Street Journal has confirmed, based on Kremlin statements, that, quote, as part of the agreement, Prigozhin will leave Russia for Belarus, and criminal charges against him will be dropped. Putin's spokesman, Dmitry Peskov, said Peskov said that the charges would be dropped, and of course, Prigozhin's going to be allowed to just go and live in Belarus, next door to Russia. Putin's spokesman went on to say his fighters will be allowed to sign contracts with the Russian military. Now, why would you want them in your military if all along they were part of a coup attempt? Unless there was really no coup attempt. Unless this just was orchestrated to fill the Russian treasury with $6.2 billion. And I'll keep using that number because the Pentagon made a big deal of it. They came out and that's the number they used. And that sounds to me like, and they said that would be going to that war effort, right? And Russia's RT network provides some further details as follows based on Peskov's statement. He added that Wagner fighters will not be persecuted, taking into account their efforts on the front lines of the Ukraine conflict. Peskov explained that President Vladimir Putin's team, quote, have always respected their exploits, unquote. Those military contractors who refused to take part in the mutiny, the whole units will be allowed to sign contracts with the Russian Defense Ministry, Peskov stated. Yeah. How are they going to parse that? Oh, yeah, you were responsible. Oh, you weren't. So that's just saying that, hey, these guys are going to continue to work with the Russian military at the end of the day. Now, as far as Prigozhin, can Belarus be called exile for him? And why would you exile him? All right. When you're disbanding the Wagner group, you're incorporating them into the Russian military, right? Now, Putin is well known for sending folk all around the world to exact revenge against opponents. Okay? He is well known for that. Why wouldn't he pursue Prigozhin? And Prigozhin was in Russia. Remember, he said, I'm down the road here and I'm going to be marching on Moscow. Strange, right? Unless they were working together the whole time. Given that Kremlin statements at this point aren't even so much as using the word exile, which has a clear punitive implication, the irony remains that, again, one can get a harsher penalty for a cannabis vape pen. Charges have been dropped against Prigozhin. Okay? He will leave Russia for Belarus. Wagner fighters will be incorporated into the Russian military of defense. Wagner fighters who did take part in the coup, they're saying they will not be charged. No word on a potential Ministry of Defense leadership change. Now, why is that important? Because that was the whole guise under which he said, him being Prigozhin, said that he wanted to conduct the coup in the first place, was to oust the leadership of the Russian Defense Ministry. So they're not going anywhere, okay? So it's status quo. The only thing that has changed in everything we've talked about right now is the fact that the Pentagon found $6.2 billion. All right. So I think that at the end of the day, Prigozhin and Putin said, look, go ahead. Let's telegraph some dissension in the ranks here. You got a high profile. Give them what they want. They want to see us lose this war, but they also would love to see the Wagner Group, which has been making strides, even Western media has admitted to that. They would love to see you come out and basically say that you're going to take out Putin, in effect. Even though he didn't mention his name, he targeted his administration, okay? Say you're going to march on Moscow. Give them what they want. And I bet you $1 to a donut, or $6.2 billion to a donut, that the CIA will come a-knocking. And damn if they didn't, with a suitcase full of money. So, jokes on the American taxpayer. $6.2 billion that they found, didn't allocate those funds to homeless vets. All right? didn't do that, but packed it up, sent it right over to Ukraine. So, look, guys, we get what we deserve in terms of the political leadership that's out there. If you voted for Joe Biden, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice. If you're planning on doing it again, I gotta say, I gotta question that move. You must be a glutton for punishment, because this thing is just not working well under him. And I think the Democrats are trying to get rid of him as well. They don't want him to run again. So we'll see if they have as much sway as the country hopes that they might. He's the worst president in the history of the United States of America. And I used to think that about Woodrow Wilson because I have studied the presidents. Woodrow Wilson was a terrible president. Did more to set the country back than most people know. But no, Joe Biden takes the cake. In addition to a boatload of foreign policy and domestic policy missteps, the guy can't even remember the difference between his wife and his sister. Okay, and that was early in the campaign, not even the presidency. All right, guys, so check out this. Now, this guy's running against Biden. He wants the Democrat nomination for president, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. But the apparatus that is built up around liberal politics to stifle any dissension is trying to quash his voice. Look at what this platform, YouTube, did to silence and censure Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a Democrat candidate for the president of the United States of America. Guys, I'll talk to you soon.